Okay.
And we're here now.
Here we are, rainy Oxford on a Monday. Thom Yorke, solo album. Why solo album and why now?
We stopped about 2.5 years ago, the band that I'm in, called Radiohead. Why did we stop? It was getting boring. It just got a bit weird and sort of self-perpetuating thing. And one of the things that I had wanted to do for ages was get stuck into a bunch of things that I've been mucking around with which didn't fit.
You said the word solo album gave you the heebie-jeebies. What is it about that you're not comfortable with?
If it was a solo album, that would sort of, it would demand that, that I'd walked away from the Radiohead thing, which I basically hadn't, and half the reason for doing it was because it's something I'd wanted to do for ages. When I talked to the others about it, they're like, oh yeah, please, go and get on with it, You could sort of call it a side project, that would make more sense, but a side project demands that it wasn't. It was just a doodle, but it wasn't. I mean, I really went for it with Nigel. I mean, it was a proper thing. We were trying our best.
I have this vision of you working away at home, just in a little music room or the shed, on a laptop with your acoustic guitar and nothing else. Was it that minimal and therefore that freeing?
Well, the initial ideas, like the initial sort of sketches for things were kind of like that. Yeah. I have a little tiny cupboard basically in my house, which you really couldn't call a studio, with all my stuff in, and I would just sort of go in there whenever, or when we were on the road, I would be doing stuff on a laptop.
So when and where did you record?
I recorded by the sea in the summertime, which was nice. And then recorded in, Nigel has a studio in London with a cocktail bar right next to it. That was nice. And we did a lot of work in the Radiohead studio as well.
Was it initially a bit disorientating, not having the four other guys there?
It was, like there was initial sessions before Nigel got there where I was like just working out how to make the computers work. All I had was the technology, and only half of it was working. So it was quite a, there's definitely a few weeks of what am I doing, And then once actually I sat down with Nigel, went through the basic ideas, it was like, oh, hang on, there is something here. And it was actually really exciting because it went from being, doodles to, oh right, a couple of accidents that make you think, well, this is something people might actually get.
Is there any sort of feeling that you were getting something out of your system?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a real relief to have done it, and it. I mean, one of the biggest problems, not just for me but for everybody, is at the end of the Hail to the Thief thing, we completely lost all our confidence. I mean, it was a weird experience and not a weird feeling and not deeply unpleasant to, basically we'll go home and forget about everything we'd done, having lost all confidence in it. Only we could do that. It gets you down. It gets you down. There's no spark, no light in the dark. It gets you down.
So who or what is The Eraser?
Who or what? Oh God, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, that I ended up choosing that name because of what Stanley was doing with the artwork. We were looking at all the old German expressionist stuff, as you do, and he just started doing all this wave malarkey. To me, there's a certain element that runs through the record of a lot of trying to forget about things, trying to sort of put it out of your mind and not being able to. So that was the extent of it, really.
Mm-hmm. Is there an environmental theme to the record?
Yeah, I couldn't help that. I mean, I didn't want to like hammer it over the head, but you know, one of the other formative things that was happening at the time was I was getting more heavily involved with Friends of the Earth, and the initial IPCC report came out, which is International Panel on Climate Change, and it had all these graphs that all just go like that, with global temperatures and so on and so on, and I was looking at that. I'm trying not to look at it actually. And that had a huge effect on me, obviously.
So when does the kind of earliest song on the Eraser date from?
You could argue that the earliest song on the Eraser is the first song on the Eraser, and the piano part in that, the crunchy sort of chords, was me secretly taping. Well, was it secret or not? I don't know if he remembers me actually putting the dictaphone on top of the piano while he did it. He said, "I've got these chords, I don't know what to do with them."
Does Johnny?
Yeah. He says, well, he had kind of an idea what to do with them, but I chose to do something completely different with them and not own up for about a year. I was like, oh, Johnny, those chords.
Should we talk about some of the individual songs now, maybe?
If you want.
Put them on. Let's continue the environmental thing. What's maybe the most explicit song to your mind about those concerns?
I would say The Clock.
The Clock?
Actually.
Okay.
It's the third one.
Yeah, time is running out for us. Coins in the wishing well, you make believe you're still in charge.
Yes. It's like it's sort of a disco tune, but I can't really actually hear what I'm saying. That was born out of the anger of watching, heads of state around the globe saying,
yes, we really must do something about this.
Meanwhile,
Here are the latest growth figures.
and no one actually grappling with the wider questions. Everyone just sort of shuffling little bits of paper around on the table going,
Yeah, we really need to do something about this.
just change the time and no one will know it's happening. The most frightening thing I find about what's going on at the moment is that no one is really engaging with the fact that we can't have endless growth. We can't endlessly consume as human beings. This is no longer like, smelly hippies talking. Anybody who's got time to think about it should be thinking to themselves, well, hang on a minute, there's something fundamentally flawed in the way that we're proceeding. Most of us are still labouring under the illusion this is all going to happen in a couple of 100 years, and it's not. We're talking about 50 years. The most sort of fundamental bit of that tune for me is the idea of a million engines in neutral. If you sit in a Tokyo traffic jam, you can't help thinking that perhaps this isn't the best way to proceed. And it was written. The initial musical ideas were written in a sleepless night in New York, where it chucked down rain, the size of tennis balls all night long, and just listening to that sound all night long with my laptop and not being able to sleep, it sort of came from really.
Atoms for Peace. I love that song, and I like the line, "I want to eat your Arthur joke heart." Can you tell us where that song and that image came from?
That was like one of those 10-minute written in a hurry things that just sort of came out really. No more going to the dark side with your flying saucer eyes. No more falling down a wormhole that I have to pull you out. Being a rock star or pop star, whatever, you're supposed to have uber confidence all the time, and I don't. It was my missus telling me to get it together, basically.
Shitty. Look, Tom, you've sold 20 million albums. People do like you, honestly.
Get out. Go on, get on with it.
The timing of the album, and I guess even the announcement of the album, seems quite purposeful. You know, you waited till the
Excellent.
waited till the Radiohead tour had begun.
Oh yes.
And it's coming out just after you've done a month in America. Was that deliberate to stop people thinking, oh, Radiohead are all finished?
Yeah, very, very deliberate. I mean, because the whole thing was done with their blessing anyway.
You've gone with Exile, who are maybe the biggest indie label in Britain now. You know, why them? Why not do it with EMI, even though you're still?
I didn't want to do it with EMI. It didn't feel right to do it with EMI. It was, it was done with the doors shut, and it was done sort of, how does Nigel put it? Without anybody watching, basically, and it was done in a different context, and it felt like it should be put out in a different context as well.
Did you or have you considered doing any solo shows?
I may get my arm twisted, but I have no idea how I'm going to do it yet. If I get the band to do it, that'd be great. that would really mash your head up, wouldn't it? Hang on a minute.
Well, just finally then, you've seemed to have gone through a crisis of confidence, albeit I don't know how briefly or otherwise. You know, given that there seems to be a wealth of new material coming out of you, both solo and with the band as well, how would you characterise your creative state or emotional state right now, this summer?
Better. Better.